Alright, now that we're done the intake, we can do the exhaust side. Now there's the exhaust right there. And it's got 1, 2, 3 bolts. That's unique to the 350 because the 450s have 22. Alright, same procedure. This time it's probably going to drip a little bit of oil because this guy's on a downward angle. Excuse my arm. Now if you haven't moved the crankshaft off a TDC, you don't have to adjust it at all. Oops. Just make sure you don't move the crankshaft or else it's gonna... The thing likes to just jump right past TDC, so I've done it a couple times and it's a bit of a pain. So if you're just doing this for the first time, remember, just easy does it because it'll just leap right past it. Oh, there goes the oil. Uh-oh. And right in there's your exhaust rocker. Find the bolt I just dropped. Oh, there it is. It's the exact same procedure. The only difference is that the valve clearance is different. So I'm over to get my handy feeler gauge. The clearance is 0.16 to 0.20 of a millimeter. So this guy here, the camera would focus, is 0.178. So I don't believe this one needs to be adjusted every other one I've done. Oh, that is perfect, absolutely perfect. It does not need to be adjusted. So don't go ahead and try to adjust. Check before you do it. So now all you have to do is just throw this cover back on and button her back up. Alright, and reassembly is basically a reverse of the removal. So what we're going to do is we're going to start putting that plug back in. Very important, do not forget this, else you will have oil everywhere. I haven't done it yet myself, but I can imagine. Better not to learn this one the hard way, because you could end up seizing the engine by doing that. So, I'm going to put this plate on. There's going to be this little bump right here. Just going to line up with this bump here, and same with that one and that one. This only goes on one way. Oops. There's bolts. Sorry, I need two hands for just a second here. Alright. And guy there goes into that guy there. And just do the bolts up. Alright, now we just take this chunk of rubber here and we'll slide it just a little bit. And this guy here sits down on top of there. This piece has been a little bit deformed from all the hell this thing's been through. So now we'll just take our pipe here and my screwdriver. Just going to do this clamp up. There we go. Now, it slides in there, down on top of it there, like that. Okay, it'll just turn that clamp so it faces us a little bit more. You always want to put stuff back together to where it's easy to disassemble again. So, you know, that means turning clamps and stuff toward you. And just making bolts easy to access, putting anti-seize on stuff that needs it. I don't recommend putting anti-seize on those bolts that go into the heads, because if that gets in the engine, you will do damage to it. Alright, now we're going to put the fuel tank back on. out here. Start with an angled back, slip it in there. Start with it forward, mistake, and then just kind of slide it over the air intake. And line your bolt holes up. Now what we'll do is we'll get our little sleeves here, our little collars, and they slide down into there. Line that one up with the hole. And same with this one here on the other side. Okay, so once you got all 4 bolts back in, now all the bolts are actually the same. However, the 2 front ones have these big washers on them. So make sure you remember that. Take the tank lid off. Oh. The other thing you want to do is make sure you remember to feed this line through here. If you don't, you'll be doing what I just did, having to fish it out of there. So, plug that back in, squeeze the clamp. It's easier to get it off than it is to get it on. And there we go. And we'll put the fuel drain on in the last. Okay, so now that the tank lid is off, we're going to grab this here. Stick that back in place. Make sure, whatever you do, that your wiring here goes into the right spot, unlike what I just did. So, bring this guy around underneath the handlebars and back over like that. There we go. There we go. Just make sure that fits in like that. There we go. That's all she wrote. Put your cap back on to minimize the stench in your garage. Do this in a well-ventilated area. Do as I say, not as I do. So, just make sure that this guy here is clipped in there. These 2 guys here are clipped in there. And on this side of the fender here too. And then just install your bolts. Right there, there, and there. Alright, now all that's left to do is I'm going to click this guy back down in there. Just like that. And then we're going to install this fuel shutoff. So make sure you got it pointed in the off position. Go. Take a screwdriver. There we go, just screw it in. Now, an upgrade you could do to these things, which I highly recommend, which I plan on doing once I get a little more spare time, which might be sometime in the next couple weeks. Install a fuel filter in this line. This is your straightest stretch of line here. These motors don't have fuel filters. They just have a little strainer inside the tank. So just to prevent future troubles with poor quality gasoline, like sometimes you find in the US they have poor quality. I find my truck sometimes pings a bit on the stock tune with regular 87. So that's one of the things I plan on doing, is adding a auxiliary fuel filter to all of these ones. So that's, then the last thing, we're just going to put the seat back on. And there we go. You just adjusted valves. That wasn't so hard. Stay tuned, because we got some cold starts coming up. Even though it's not all that cold out, but still, they're still fun to watch, so stay tuned.